The beginning of the 20th century in China was a time for growth both nationally and internationally. The advancement of Western countries pressured China to become a more modernized nation, not only because of the humiliation Western countries had wrought upon China with military victories and degrading treaties, but because of the scientific and cultural advancement Western ideology promised. China was forced to turn inwards for reform in order to compete with foreign powers, and they did so by expanding their culture through writing and art. Film became an important facet of cultural improvement during the 1930s. At this time, intellectuals began to realize the potential this visual medium had in reconstructing China as a new, modern nation. Women in these movies, especially the character of the prostitute, were used to embody the suffering of China as a nation. Using the prostitute as a driving force of metaphor in cinema was a blatant critique of capitalism as a whole. In two films produced in the 1930s, The Goddess and Street Angel, the main characters are forced to sell their bodies and their sexuality in order to lead a baseline quality of life. An early Chinese anarcho-feminist, He Zhen, states that prostitutes as well as factory workers and housemaids were the most subordinated groups of women because they were dependent on the money of their customers and had to choose immediately between subservience and starvation. Throughout the film, The Goddess, the titular character, is forced to prostitute herself simply to get her son the education he deserves. This highlights the economic hardships Chinese citizens had to go through and what they had to subject themselves to just to get a rudimentary education. Visually, this concept is shown through the imagery in the first sequence of Street Angel. In this introduction to the film, wealthy Western establishments overlaid with images of money and wealth are cut next to images of threatening lions, suggesting to those watching not to even think about upward mobility as a possibility. This sequence is used to highlight the hostile environment that people were forced to work in during this time. The metaphor of women as a Chinese nation, and especially working women, prevailed throughout early Chinese cinema in an effort to personify and unite a nation weakened by colonization and foreign intervention. The commodification of the bodies of women was seen as a weakness of China as a whole, but these cinematic pieces put human faces to the women during this time and highlighted their fight for a better life. Not only did the prostitutes in these early Chinese films personify a nation, but they personified a nation that strove to be more independent and educated and to break free from capitalism.